I'll talk about it, you know, but I just gotta sort of ease into it. Because I was never like a major talker or anything. I like to keep things to myself. Some people call it private, but I'd say I was more of an inward person, right? I'm an inward person. I think it has a lot to do with how you grew up, family and all. I just ended up being more inward than anything. Anyway, I found that a lot of times when you ask for things, like maybe a question or something, there's never a right answer out there. You can ask over and over again and never hear something back. Speaking of that, you can hear me all right, can ya? Can ya? I guess so. Something going off in the wrong direction from how it's supposed to be. And it's with all the people. Or mortals. That's what my teacher used to say. Mortals are to blame. He said it was simply the fact that, and I could never understand this, maybe I didn't listen good enough, that was the usual problem, but he said that it stemmed from the fact that we're just mortals. That every problem that we have in the world is just because that we're mortals, or humans, that's what mortals means, and just because we are what we are, these mortals, it's our fault. Explain me that. You know what's funny? I could never understand what was coming out of his mouth. He had like 2 degrees or something and still wanted to teach at a public school. I admired that. I was in his class, one of them, his first year, and it was great. I loved it. It was great. He took us, my class anyway, on a bunch of trips and stuff, and like up to the museum and up to Chicago one time. You know what's funny? He hit on me, my teacher did, on one of those trips. This was at the Maritime Center. It scared the shit out of me. I mean, I didn't know what he was doing. Well, okay, I did. I was 13. But, I mean, it's just not what you're expecting at that age. Maybe it never is. Came up behind me at the observation tank. See, the other teacher wanted to take the kids down the passageway where they have this place where you can handle different sea things like sharks and crabs and stuff. And the room next to the shark tank was all dark and it had this place where you could stand and see without a glare. Some of the kids were scared, but I never was. I was always interested in sharks and things. So my teacher said it'd be okay if we stayed back and watched. We'd catch up later. I was keeping my eye on this hammerhead. That's a species of shark, you probably knew that. And it's starting to get real close to the glass this hammerhead is. Suddenly, I feel all this weight up against me. My teacher is pushing my body forward onto the observation windows, and I can't move. He never said anything while it was happening. I mean, to me, at least. He said he was whispering something about the tragic nobility of sea creatures, some shit like that. But I can't see the way he's got me held there. I can't see, but all I can see is this shark, the one I've been watching, coming out of the murk and sweeping past again and again. It's not till he's on top of me each time that I can see his eye. And he rolls past the glass and he rolls back and turns all white as he passes. Fuck, that was scary. I've never forgotten him. That feeling, his weight on me, as that shark just kept circling around. Well, it's easy to scare a kid, right? He kissed me. Jesus, he kissed me like how it must have been when they first invented it. Like back in the days of myths and shit, when you could get kissed like that and men were heroes and you'd wait a lifetime for them to return, you would. You could still taste them on your lips years later. Because back then, kisses still meant something. That's what he kissed me with. I don't want to elaborate on all the relationship stuff, because if you talk to him, then you know. Maybe more than you want to. We started seeing each other, as much as a junior high school teacher and a 13-year-old could see each other. That's what we began to do. We began doing that. And I know what you're thinking, or thought about it to yourselves, laughing and all. It's my fault, or that he's some type of molester or something, but that wouldn't be true. Either side of that. We, just liked each other, with kiss and things. Not so much, but just kiss and little hugs and stuff. I'd sneak into his classroom for just seconds sometimes and we'd hug. That's what we do. When we went to Chicago, he drove us straight to the lake, to the pier where he rented a boat for us. A beautiful red speedboat, and there was a picnic basket, and it was with him, and we were on the water, and it was great. Just great. He gave me a bracelet in my sandwich. Yeah, he hollowed out the bread from inside my sandwich and put my bracelet in it. And I loved it. It was just cute. He also got me this book of Greek stories, mostly of Euripides, because he said Euripides was the writer who was most humanistic, had the most humanity of the Greek writers. He said he was the one most at war with the... Shit, that's not good. Well, anyway, he said he was the guy that was angry at the world for being all fucked up or something just because we're mortals. Anyway, he said I'd appreciate it as I got older. I still have it. I found out about the baby, that I was going to have one in late April, the 23rd, I guess, and I didn't cry. Should have fucking kid myself, right? But sometimes you can go long years even and feel like you've never aged at all, and then in seconds, you can age a ton. So I found out and went straight to his place. Well, I called first, and then I just went straight there and we talked about it. Like I said, we talked about it, and this surprised me, but he wasn't all adult and shit, didn't get all shitty about it. Said he couldn't think of anything better than having a son or something. Said we'd have to be careful. We both knew the situation, but I promised him I wouldn't say anything about who the father was, no matter if I got pulled out of school or if my dad got shitty about it, and believe me, he did. But I told him I'd keep his secret. We made a pledge on that sofa, and I kept it. And that was hard, because I'm not going to lie, because I was scared, but honestly, we talked some more, and then we kissed. God, for such a big guy, he was really gentle to me. And I went home. I went home with our baby inside me, and I watched Hogan's Heroes on TV like I did every afternoon. What else are you gonna do, right? I just need some water. sorry that you lost him. Didn't really hear anything else, except for the fact that she said, well, I'm sure they need really good arts and science teacher in Phoenix, as they do here. I didn't ask for an address or anything, I didn't. Because I was standing there, 14 years old with a baby inside me, and this woman yakking on about how my brother had a German measles booster, and if I knew if he had one yet. And I was frozen in time. It was like the heavens had opened up above me, and all I could see was the universe. And this woman talking on like I was her godchild, and all I could hear was the howl of the cosmos. And you know what? It was laughing. It was. All of the attention was turned down at me. It was laughing down at me. Like I said, there's a bunch of shit you don't even hear twice, okay? And I don't want your sympathy either, so I'll skip all the hardship stuff about how I did tell my parents and getting pulled out of school, and then the move to my aunt's house. Sound familiar? I told you, but if I didn't, I meant to. The story is nothing really special. The only thing that's particularly interesting is that it happened to me, you know? Billy. That's my son. Billy, William, whatever, was born. Beautiful boy. Just quite great, really, and I know that all mothers say this, but he was. He was great. And a couple years passed, and, well, I did make contact with his father. I did. Sent a couple letters, and he wrote right back. This was maybe a year, 18 months later. Just long enough for him to wonder, you know. I told him our pact was still safe, and that this wasn't some money thing, but honestly, I knew that there was something there for us. But I could still taste him on my lips. Even then. The rest you know. On his 14th birthday, Billy and me, we rented a car. We were living in Utah by then with a bunch of Mormon relatives, and we decided to drive to Phoenix to meet his father. It'd be just this one time that we'd see each other. He was, married by then. Married and teaching in Phoenix. No kids, though, isn't that funny? No kids, because his wife had a part of her uterus that wouldn't work properly. Didn't adopt, just kept trying naturally, over and over again. I thought that was the saddest part about the whole thing. So it'd just be this one time in a motel he picked in town, this one time that we'd see each other again. At least the two of us again. This thing's almost run out. Okay. Anyway, we met at the room. It's a terrible hot day, at least for December. That's what I remember. And he was there. There as promised. Didn't look any older, which kind of sucked, you know, because, I mean, look at me, I'd aged a ton. But he was there, and Billy was all excited, and we even hugged. And as he leaned in to kiss my cheek, I saw something there. there in his eyes. Maybe it was the sun coming in the room or something, but he loved this boy. He loved him. All that shit he'd said to me years ago about kids, he loved them. But also, he was satisfied. I could see that satisfaction on his face because he'd gotten away with it. He'd beaten fate and gotten away with it. After dinner, we had a bucket of store-bought chicken in the room. Billy got a bunch of presents. One of them was a book of Greek myths. Imagine that. And then he said he had to go. Had to run to school for a science fair or something for like an hour, I guess, and said he'd be back. He promised he'd be back. He said that word to me. Whatever it was. He said it as he was standing there about to go out on the balcony. He smiled and he whispered to me, maybe it's not our fault after all. We're just human, right? Billy was already in the bathroom. We'd driven straight through and we were tired from travel. He was in there. I could hear the water filling up around him. God, he loved the bath. He loved his tub since he was tiny. He loved it. And I could hear him in there listening to Lady Day. That's what he liked to call her, Billie Holiday. On the tape player. Stormy weather. I went in the room, the bathroom, and I could see him through this little hole in the lining that he closed shut. Eyes closed and steam filling up. He didn't struggle. The shock of it, I suppose, didn't when the tape recorder first hit the water. And then the softer sound of him, Billy, kicking a second or two. I turned the tap off a little later. And I sat there, on the linoleum, sat there and watched him in that cloudy pool of bathwater. Eyes open and so still. If I squinted, I could almost make out, if I really squinted, I could see... Adakia. That's it, that's the word I was thinking about. The world out of balance. You can look it up if you want to, but I know that's the one. I knew it'd come to me if I waited long enough. Well, I was picked up in a restaurant in Vegas, but you're aware of that, obviously, and brought back here. So now you know, right? What you really wanted to know? I planned it. Yes, I planned it. But maybe longer than you thought, huh? Lots longer. And I worry about what's going to happen to me. I do. It's natural to worry about things. But you know what gets me through today? The next hour. It's him. I can just see him there, down there in Phoenix, a Saturday, and stumbling around by monkey bars. Can't be consoled, right? The truth all spilled out like it is now, and these tears, torrents of tears coming down his face, as he's screaming up to the universe, why, over and over again. But you know what? In my fantasy, there's never an answer. There never is.
Don't know why. no sun up in the sky, stormy weather, since my man and I